Chapter 6, Multiple Choice, Choose Multiple Answers, Track 11.
All right, a little bit of history. Well, the current debate that we're having is a uniquely American phenomenon. Uniquely American because voting machines don't exist in most of the rest of the world, including Western Europe, where one might think we find them. We really only have voting machines, I think about a third or a half of South America uses voting technology. Holland does, because there's a machine manufacturer there. And the whole country of India uses electronic voting machines, which is quite interesting. Those machines are made by the Indian government. But other than that, everyone votes on good old paper ballots.
Test 1. Multiple choice. Choose multiple answers. Page 48. 1.
Last week, we looked at urban regeneration and some of the consequences of this, one of which was the relocation of people from urban to suburban areas to largely allow them a better standard of living, because housing is cheaper in the suburbs, so they have more disposable income. But they have to commute, and commuters need rapid transport to get them from A to B. So subway construction is, well, it's booming in some parts of the world. It's clearly being seen as the answer to the type of migration that I've just mentioned. It often gets huge public support because, well, if a subway is going to help you have a better lifestyle, then what's there to argue about? Well, quite a lot, actually. For a start, in order to go ahead with a major project of this kind, you need to be absolutely sure that the ground, and more to the point, what lies beneath the ground, can support underground transport. And to address questions like that, engineers have to be really experienced, really knowledgeable about the local area, water levels, land formation, and so on. And those key issues are what I want to focus on today. Passengers don't think about construction. They trust other, better qualified people to do it for them. And governments have to choose these people very carefully.
2.
In places where there's been serious community tensions, Brickenden's a good example of this. There were 250 reported incidents there in 2009, often to do with neighbours and arguments, but criminal activity too. And the police will tell you that if you leave residents to sort things out for themselves, the number of incidents rises. It doesn't fall. So the local council realised that they had to do something. So they went round to people's houses and met them and their neighbours and talked to everyone and got a general idea of what the local concerns were. If there were extended families involved, they looked at those particular families more closely and all the relatives and got some of the family intervention services to talk to them. And there were some very positive results. You can pick out the hotspots, the main areas for crime. But the hotspots don't tell you what causes the crime in the first place, and so don't address the issues. So this proactive, more direct approach by the council worked well. And this was followed up with other quite practical solutions like cleaning up the area, getting rid of debris in alleyways and just making the place somewhere more agreeable, more livable.
Test 2. Multiple choice. Choose multiple answers. Page 82. 1.
Today we have Paul Whitner, Head of Theatre Studies, here to tell us a bit about the Theatre Studies programme. Paul, what makes this course different?
Well, I think it's the environment we can offer students. We're a relatively small conservatoire, and we offer superb courses in a number of subjects, with an opportunity for performance. We've built a reputation for producing both traditional and alternative performances. I guess the course would appeal to potential students for the level of support that's available, and I mean from the tutors as well as from the fellow students and alumni. There's a real sense of community.
So, what are you looking for in prospective students?
I guess we're looking for people who are able to cope with the high demands that the course will put on them. In that way, I think the programme reflects the workplace we're preparing them for, so it's incredibly intense and we cover a huge range of projects, and they will be introduced to areas of performance design which they might never have considered before. We need students with imagination and dedication who are able to keep up when the going gets tough. It can be demanding, but we have to remember that the college enjoys an excellent reputation for student retention, student satisfaction, and student employment after graduation.
Test 3. Multiple choice. Choose multiple answers. Page 109. 1.
I'd like to start this lecture on the use of technology in education by talking about a subject that's probably close to all your hearts, which is the way that student work is graded. And specifically, I want to talk to you about some of the ways written assignments or essays are marked. Well, as you all know, traditionally writing done by a student is checked, marked and graded by a teacher, a tutor, or, in some situations, an examiner. In other words, a real person. Software to mark essays has been in development for some time, and grading software on computers is already used by some universities to mark exams, but it is still viewed with suspicion by some. How can a computer mark an essay, they ask? Well, a recent study compared the human ability to give grades to student essays to the ability of a computer to do the same job. In the study, over 16,000 essays were used. These essays had already been previously marked by at least one trained human grader. The study showed that the essay marks given by the computer software were almost the same as those from human graders, which I think you'll agree is a controversial result, and it's likely to make us as teachers re-evaluate how we grade written work.
Two.
A further example of endangered species is the shark. Around 40 million sharks are killed each year. That's quite a lot. Consequently, the number of sharks is decreasing. So let's take a closer look at the causes of this. Firstly, in recent decades, sharks have become important. This is largely due to the growing popularity in some parts of the world for the consumption of shark. It has become a very valuable food source. OK, so maybe you're thinking, well, lots of other fish like cod, salmon or tuna are caught for human consumption and they aren't disappearing at the same rate as sharks. Well, that's true, but the difference here is sharks are not able to repopulate or reproduce themselves quickly like the other types of fish that are commonly fished as a food source. Why? Because sharks are slow breeders. Sharks mature slowly and it takes them years to reach the age for egg production, and then they produce only a few eggs, so that means just a few new sharks. Humans have a 9-month pregnancy or gestation period, whereas some shark species are thought to have extremely long gestation periods, as long as 3 years. This makes them much more vulnerable and in danger of dying out than many other fish species.